What's poppin', y'all? To say that Tyler Acoma, better known as Tyler the Creator, is creative would be a severe understatement. Tyler is a wide-ranging artist who's continued to express himself all over the world as a rapper, singer, songwriter, producer, fashion designer, music festival founder, video director, hell, even cartoon creator. Since Tyler the Creator first emerged in the music scene in 2007 as the head of his extended music collective Odd Future, his crew has given us many memorable names in music, if not just for nostalgia factors, and some of these artists still doing well today, like Frank Ocean, Earl Sweatshirt, Sid the Kid and her group The Internet, Domo, Genesis, Casey Veggies, Haji, Left Brain, Taco, Jasper, Mike G, Super 3, and hell, a bunch of people that were extended from that group, such as Vince Staples. Interestingly enough, super producer and cultural influencer Pharrell Williams had a gigantic impact on Tyler's desire to become the creator that we now know him to be. Pharrell's band Nerd, or NERD's debut album, In Search Of, from 2001, showcased the genre-blending barriers that Tyler could break through as a young rapper influenced by everything from Eminem and Kanye West to Mary J. Blige and Brandy on the soulful side, and all the way over to synth-pop sounds of Washed Out and Beach House. Pharrell's music was hitting so heavy for Tyler that Pharrell's self-produced 2006 debut, In My Mind, that featured Kanye, Jay-Z, Pusha T, Snoop Dogg, and Gwen Stefani, was enough to ignite the flame of Tyler to start Odd Future, the crew of artists Tyler initially produced music for. Pharrell Williams' music was part of what was introduced to him on the radio, making the desire to get on the radio even stronger for him, something that he's always been excited about, especially when his first songs got played on the radio. I grew up listening to it. Although it's not the most important thing, there's still a percentage of me that wants to listen to the radio one day and say, oh, that's my song. A lot of my favorite artists I heard for the first time because of the radio. I first heard Maureen by Sade on the radio. Maxwell's Urban Hang Suite, his first album, co-written by Leon Ware. I first heard that on the radio. I first heard Tape You by NERD, my favorite band in the world. One of my favorite songs ever on the radio. And that's how I got introduced to that. And that shaped everything for me. So it's still a piece of me that not only wants to be on the radio, but it's probably some 11-year-old in the middle of effing nowhere who might hear a song, look me up, get introduced to a whole world, and that could change everything he's into for the rest of his life. The connection between In My Mind and Odd Future makes sense because up until that album's release, Pharrell was mainly known as one half of the Neptunes and one third of NERD. The Neptunes was a production partnership with Pharrell's childhood friend Chad Hugo, who dominated the radio hits of the early 2000s, and Nerd was the rock, rap, funk group that the Neptunes formed with their fellow Virginia musician Shay Haley. But with the In My Mind project, Pharrell was able to, for the first time, go beyond being the face of a production duo and a music trio and be the front-facing artist on rap and R&B songs on his own. Within My Mind, Pharrell took the creative energy inside him and used that as fuel as the main guy, spearheading an entire album as the lead artist and producer, who was able to pull in previous premium collaborators to co-star on his album instead of the other way around. This may be the light bulb that switched on in Tyler's own mind that he could become the creator for not just himself, but an entire crew of talent that could one day be influential in their own right. Just taking a listen to where Tyler the Creator's music began and where it's continued to evolve is a really expansive progression that includes really massive leaps from horrorcore and alternative rap to neo-soul and more jazzy influenced rap. This is an artist whose music went from being labeled hateful to including songs about supposed romantic relationships with other dudes, teasing out and pump faking whether or not he was into women, and songs like I Ain't Got Time, saying I've been kissing a white boy since 2004. How in the world did Tyler the Creator go from in his bedroom making beats, no followers, to an online cult, and then from an online cult and being banned in multiple countries, almost effectively being blackballed from influencing people, to a Grammy Award winning international icon now that's selling out arenas? Tyler was born in a small, relatively affluent African-American area inside Los Angeles called Ladera Heights, California, with a Nigerian father and an American mother. But his upbringing wouldn't continue with his father, whom he said he never knew, or Ladera Heights, because he grew up on the border of Inglewood, on 81st in New Hampshire, with memories of seeing a nail salon getting robbed by gunpoint when he was only age 4. In fact, Tyler was unfortunately very short on immediate male role models because not only was his father not in his life, but he never knew any of his grandfathers either. Instead, he was raised with the assistance of his grandmother for a time in her rough apartment where he claimed to have spent months sleeping on the floor. In his grandmother's neighborhood, he didn't feel like he fit in at all, especially as a black child getting teased for his interest in skateboarding and Vans sneakers before those things were widely considered cool within hip-hop. Tyler continued to double down on his outcast existence as a teenager with a disdain for sports and a fascination for jazz music, explaining the situation to the Fader in 2014 by saying, "It was just hard. Man, I used to get called white boy. I hated that. I'm in 7th grade in Inglewood. Too white for the black kids, too black for the white kids." Being that he didn't know any other youth at the time that shared his interests and looked like him, he pulled his motivation from celebrities that broke through the cultural limitations that he wished to push through. Trailblazers like Dave Chappelle, genre mixing musicians Pharrell Williams and Kanye West. Once he made friends with the kids that would eventually form Odd Future, Tyler became even more invested in showing the world that surpassing stereotypes and following your heart is the coolest thing in the world. At one point, the Odd Future Collective grew to 13 members, sharing their appreciation for dark humor and cruising around in skateboards. Singers, rappers, and producers emerged in the crew, eventually making stars out of Frank Ocean and Earl Sweatshirt as well, as they rode the transformative wave of artists blowing up on the internet that had been paved for them by the independence of people like the Cool Kids, Kid Cudi, Mickey Fax, Wale, hell, even Soulja Boy, to an extent. Before Tyler really started breaking through into mainstream realms with his Goblin project, Odd Future as a teenage rap collective was putting its energy on the internet with eccentric images of crazy photoshopped pictures, and their first long-form offering, a mixtape titled The Odd Future Tape Volume 1, on November 15, 2008, under their more elongated group moniker Odd Future Wolfgang Kill Them All, abbreviated as OFWGKTA. Every track was internally produced by Tyler the Creator, Left Brain, and the Super 3, and was recorded between 2007 and 2008. Frank Ocean and Earl Sweatshirt weren't featured on these songs yet, but the material was fleshed out with appearances from Tyler, Casey Veggies, Jasper, Mellow Hype, and Haji Beats. This would be the first of 12 full-length projects that Odd Future would push out by 2011. Controversy was spurred on by their lyrics that freely depicted, every crime you can imagine, and kidnapping, in a weird mix of horror movies messing with satirical comedy. The following year, Tyler the Creator put out his solo debut mixtape, simply called Bastard, that dabbled in the dark side, with a release date that was oddly enough on Christmas Day 2009. Not only did it feature demented images of school kids' hoodies, but it started off with a school therapist session with Tyler describing himself as depressed, possessed, and Satan's son, while talking to a doctor with a demonic voice, a recurring character in Tyler's work called Dr. TC. Even as a solo project, Bastard continued along with the Odd Future trend of aggressive songs featuring other OF members and violent themes in the form of social angst. Although Bastard pulled in critical acclaim from some pretty heavy sources of exposure like Pitchfork and Complex, Tyler received some negative feedback from the hip-hop blog Two Dope Boys because of a provocative rant Tyler made on the title track on Bastard, where he said, "Yo, F Two Dope Boys and F Nah Right and any other F nigga ass blog that can't put on an 18-year-old making his own beats, covers, videos, and all that." In response, the co-founder addressed Tyler the Creator directly on his Two Dope Boys blog. Two Dope Boys doesn't have a problem with Tyler. Hell, I'd never even heard of the guy until he was yelling F Two Dope Boys on some song that was submitted to the site. After a quick Google search, I come across a couple of interviews and Twitter updates where he has nothing but negative remarks to say about myself and the site. Again, all before I was even aware of who he was. Who does that? And I know the "why even acknowledge it? You mad?" and "you're a maggot" comments will be flooding the section below. But the truth is, I don't even think the music is all that bad, and never once said different. But I'm not going to support someone that felt the need to disrespect myself and Mika for absolutely no reason. So if he wants to continue his marketing ploy, fine. Just stop bugging us about it. Thanks. It would end up being music from Tyler, the Creator's Bastard mixtape that would get him pushed into the households of middle America on the popular television talk show Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. This would turn the punk, rock, unorthodox TV moment that made Tyler instantly one of the most talked about rappers in America. With the Late Night with Jimmy Fallon house band The Roots present, along with this episode's celebrity guest actors Brandon T. Jackson and Felicia Day watching, Tyler was bouncing up and down all over the set in a green ski mask and a pink and turquoise tie-dyed hoodie. Tyler, the Creator, and Haji Beats performed Sandwiches, the lead single to Tyler's debut album Goblin that still hadn't been released yet. To make the night even more unforgettable, rapper Mos Def, now called Yassine Bey, starts chanting swag in front of the camera in honor of Odd Future, and Tyler leaps onto Jimmy Fallon's back and whips the Supreme Skater cap off his own head and pulls it down on Jimmy's head. Fallon told Complex how a writer that he used to be co-workers with on the sketch comedy show Saturday Night Live, named Matt Murray, put Jimmy Fallon up on Odd Future several weeks before, prompting Fallon to hop online and listen to Odd Future's self-released mixtapes like Bastard and the Odd Future tape. I listened to it and I thought, wow, this is so different. Let's try to find these guys. Our booker was like, okay, but they're not signed or anything. And I didn't totally know how that worked, but I was like, who cares? If they're good, let's do it. So we booked Odd Future. When they came out wearing ski masks, I go, oh, no. This is off the rails. I didn't know what was going on, man. But I'm sitting there playing my part as the host, wearing a suit and tie. That's what it should be. You're the artist, I'm the host, so just go for it. 3 months after Tyler blew viewers' minds during his appearance on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, Tyler dropped Goblin, his 82-minute crazed self-therapy session via a one-album deal with British label XL Recordings. XL Recordings, a label known typically for alternative rock, Radiohead, and Vampire Weekend. They had won an ongoing bidding war for Tyler, Creator that included Interscope. There was even a clause in Tyler's contract that would allow him to eventually get the rights to his master recordings back for Goblin. After launching Sandwiches as the leading single, Yonkers was up next, the second song off Goblin that landed on Valentine's Day of 2011. The entire Goblin album wouldn't emerge until May 10th of 2011. The much talked about black and white music video for Yonkers went viral, showing Tyler eating a massive roach, pretending to commit suicide, and proclaiming that he wanted to stab pop star Bruno Mars and crash a plane carrying the rapper B.O.B. It gained over 375,000 views in the first 3 days. Yonkers and the Goblin album itself made Tyler mega famous, making it possible for him to win Best New Artist at the 2011 MTV Video Music Awards. This music video even had Kanye West posting it. But how does Tyler, the Creator, feel about his first album, Goblin, all these years later? He admits to not feeling as attached to it as he did when he first made it. He told GQ, "I think Goblin is horrible. I think Bastard is cool. The only songs I would keep from Goblin are Yonkers, She, Nightmare, Tron Cat, Fish, Analog, and AU-79. By the way, if you're wondering who the old school Abraham Lincoln looking white guy is on the cover of Tyler's Goblin, and if he's a real person, the answer is yes. It was a picture of 19-year-old American soldier William Frederick Buffalo Bill Cody from 1864. Tyler, the Creator, pushed his artistic vision even further on his second album, starting with the album cover for Wolf not having the same choppy, photoshopped shock value imagery that he had been flooding the internet with on sites like Tumblr. Instead, he commissioned artist Mark Ryden to design it, the same artist responsible for Michael Jackson's intricate pop surrealism artwork for the Dangerous album. Now Tyler is throwing more verbal shots at the media, his increasing number of haters, and the downfalls of fame. Tyler uses an extensive narrative connection to the songs that involves a love triangle between three invented characters, Wolf, Sam, and Salem. There's also a return to visit the Dr. TC therapist character to discuss the pain of his grandmother's death. It is still an Odd Future affair as far as the features, but Tyler walks 2 steps closer into the limelight with 2 major league guest appearances, one from his idol Pharrell on IFHY and Erykah Badu on Tree Home 95. Cherry Bomb exploded with Tyler, the Creator, pushing the limits of his production with distortion while still clinging to adolescence, and a gentler approach than his high-speed aggression from earlier work. But unfortunately, Cherry Bomb was the first album, I would say, that got negative feedback from OG Odd Future fans for being a little bit too happy-go-lucky and some bragging in it, and more of a hopeful outlook on life as opposed to the negative outlook that people were used to. It was as if his cult following would have preferred that he remain relegated to that cramped room in his grandmother's apartment and remain a teenager in his energy and outlook on life. No matter the flack that he took for Cherry Bomb, though, including it being his lowest selling album up until that point, Tyler's made it clear that it's among his favorite albums. Tyler addressed some of the pushback that he received by telling GQ, "Yeah, I just stopped yelling and stopped saying crazy stuff. Honestly, like niggas act like Analog wasn't on Goblin, or I wasn't wearing tie-dye, or like the Yonkers video, I didn't have a bunch of chains on, wearing cut-off shorts with this hot pink button-up tie-dye shirt. And like, I do think that I've progressed in just making perfectly crafted stuff, but a lot of this stuff isn't too out of character if you really study an artist. Like, I'll use an example. Kanye produced a song by Trina and Ludacris called Be Alright, and in the middle of that song, there's like a bridge. There's no rap verse, no vocals from Ludacris or Trina, but it's just a string section and this girl doing an opera type singing for 16 bars or so. And that's basically the blueprint for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But some people don't look at things like that. So they're like, oh my God, this came out of nowhere. Nah, he's been trying to perfect that for years, and he finally perfected it with Twisted Fantasy. On July 21st, 2017, Tyler dropped his fourth album, complete with the cover artwork of him standing in a large patch of sunflowers, surrounded by bumblebees, pumpkin orange sky, and puffy clouds, sharing some heartfelt vulnerability. Flower Boy is Tyler's turning point further away from his juvenile energy and really moving deeper towards personal growth, maturity, and a positive outlook. Interestingly enough, instead of losing his audience, who may have gotten accustomed to him staying firmly planted in this zone of nihilistic humor, Tyler fans seemed to grow up, and he seemed to also break through and gain a fan base who hadn't known about his old music in the past. Flower Boy became his very first platinum-selling album in the US. For the 2018 animated movie The Grinch, an animated reboot of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Tyler the Creator was brought on board to collaborate on the soundtrack with Hollywood movie composer Danny Elfman, who scored blockbusters like Batman, Spider-Man, and Avengers. Their assignment was to remake the holiday song You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. During the collaboration, Tyler sent Elfman his idea for the song, and they both shared back and forth to give the track a balance between the classic original and a more modern version to find something the movie studio would accept. The reimagining of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch features Tyler rapping and his suggestion to include a children's choir. Danny Elfman raved about his working relationship with Tyler by telling Entertainment Weekly how he quickly completed a second song, I Am the Grinch, as well, which Tyler the Creator wrote, produced, and performed with Elfman assisting on string arrangements. He was like, I wrote this morning. He played me the second song, and I'm like, oh shoot, this thing is great. Tyler is so meta creative, and I couldn't believe he just dropped this thing together in no time. It really blew my mind. Tyler proved Flower Boy wasn't a fluke and followed it up in 2019 with another platinum plaque for Igor, trading in the Supreme skater caps for a David Bowie meets Andy Warhol blonde bowl cut wig. Tyler's creative liberation didn't begin and end with his colorful suits, gold jewelry, and sunglasses. It was in the music as well. Not restricted to just rap in here, Tyler was singing and incorporating a massive array of different genres, from hip-hop to jazz, then back over to R&B and pop. Oddly enough, the album's biggest controversy basically had nothing to do with Tyler's lyrics this time. He caught flack from his competition. Igor was released on the same day as DJ Khaled's album Father of Assad, that was stacked with superstar heavy hitters like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Cardi B, and Travis Scott. But it wasn't enough to prevent Tyler's project from debuting at number 1, beating out the music mogul Khaled, who's been in the game for much longer. Apparently, Khaled was so upset he became upset with his record company's marketing plan and seemingly lashed out at Tyler's music, calling it mysterious music. Call Me If You Get Lost marked a massive arrival of Tyler the Creator's pop culture appeal and served as I would call a landmark album, debuting number 1 at Billboard 200 and being his second number 1 album. And there were 13 of its songs that landed on the Billboard Hot 100 first week, with What's Your Name, for example, reaching the top 20. Tyler, the creator, was either the sole creator or co-producer of each track on the album that received widespread love and featured big names like Pharrell, Lil Wayne, Lil Uzi Vert, and even got other features that people weren't really expecting, such as 42 Doug, NBA Youngboy, and Ty Dolla $ign. He brought this more back to his rap roots, where he got DJ Drama to host it just like an old school Gangsta Grillz mixtape. And during the 2021 BET Hip Hop Awards on October 1st, 2021, hip hop pioneer LL Cool J was the presenter to Tyler, the creator, of the first ever Rock the Bells Cultural Influence Award, an honor that was established in partnership with LL Cool J's Rock the Bells brand to acknowledge a younger, innovative, otherworldly artist that has significantly impacted the culture while uplifting their community. Tyler accepted his award from LL Cool J by saying, "I wouldn't be here or up on the stage or have this silly hat or anything without the Q-Tips, the Andre 3000s, the Chad Hugos, the Pharrells, the Kanye West, the Missy Elliott's, who no one ever brings up, Busta Rhymes, the Hype Williams, who just took it to this different world. I preach those names and others that I didn't name because I'm limited on time, but I appreciate you so much for just opening the doors and throwing the key. Not just opening the doors, but talking to young guys like me and giving me gems and things like that. Even LL, the speech he gave me back there was just beautiful." Tyler was also nominated for 4 other BET Hip Hop Awards: Hip Hop Artist of the Year, Producer of the Year, as well as Best Live Performer and Album of the Year for his album Call Me If You Get Lost, both of which he won. Now, on top of that, he went on a massive tour, selling out arenas and even, hell, packing out Madison Square Garden of all places. There's been a staggeringly large number of musicians that have opened up their pockets and purses to the fashion industry for a reason. It makes a large amount of money. But there's definitely a difference between the celebrity-created clothing brands that win and the brands that lose when they're birthed by music stars. The problem many run into is that too many companies offer fans ready-to-wear apparel collections that just become a merchandise page on a rapper's website, loaded with graphic tees and logo hoodies, and although that is how Odd Future got their start, Tyler appeared to have learned from mistakes made by other rappers. DMX, Eminem, and 50 Cent are all legendary rap stars, but their respective Rough Riders, Shady, and G-Unit garments are not the hottest sellers today, as they once were many years ago. Tyler deliberately chose to make his Golf Wang fashion brand and its higher-end Golf Lafleur designer products that can stand on their own regardless of whether Tyler, the creator, has an album out or not. As Tyler explained to Complex, "I never liked making Tyler, the Creator merch. I never liked it. I never liked putting my face on merch. I've done it 2 or 3 times probably. But when people call Golf Wang merch, it's like, it's not merch. It doesn't say Tyler, the Creator on everything. These are actual clothing pieces. It's a store. It's ran like a line. Don't call it merch. We've grown so crazy in the past few years. So I have an ill team at the office and I kind of oversee most of the design. Lafleur is, sweaters, slacks, Rolls Royce, you playing chess, like listening to whatever the hell, Sade demos. That's it. And I really wanted to model Lafleur off of where I've just been at the last 3 years. I'm just getting into that pocket. Trench coats, perfumes, and making sure your skin is good. That's that. With Golf Wang, it's like, man, we got to make the illest t-shirts, the illest hoodies, the illest utility vest. All in all, during Tyler, the Creator's journey from accumulating a cult following to expanding to mainstream appeal, he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way with lyrics that have been categorized as any number of ists or icks. Abusive, violent, all of those things. In fact, if his music came out in 2022 instead of 2011, he would have probably been a boycotted victim of cancel culture before he was able to even take off from the ground. In fact, Tyler, the Creator, was banned in Australia, the entire United Kingdom, and New Zealand for his controversial lyrics back in 2015. He's since then been unbanned, but on Hot 97 with Ebro and Laura Stiles and Rosenberg, he contemplates how different his career would have been today. People don't realize, there's a lot of fans came more recently. So they think it's cute, it's Flower Boy. No, I was canceled before it was just a hashtag on Twitter. This is protest at shows. These are cops trying to pull me out. These are getting banned. This is me going to an airport and it's a photo of me at all the kiosks saying, do not let this man get on the plane. This is a true thing. This isn't just like some little 14-year-old girl. He said this word, we got to get him out of here. No, this is real life. Like, oh, shoot. Like, hey, Clancy, can we even get a jet out of this country? Like having to take a train by myself to another country. This is real stuff. This is like, I remember when I did the Mountain Dew commercial and Boyce Watkins was like, I don't like this. And I was out of here, like gone. This wasn't like a corporation just waiting to see if all the tweets like build up. And it's like, okay, maybe we should pull them. This was like instant type stuff.